So we've got Paul Sullivan with us right now. So Paul created, it was almost like a piece of clickbait. I know it wasn't, but there was a message on our Facebook group which goes, "Hi, does anyone have some advice on hiring a business dev, a biz dev for their agency? At the moment, it's just me that handles the sales side of the business. I'm looking to make the business less reliant on me. Things I'm interested in finding out about include finding a good dev, what their day-to-day should include, pay, etc." And Paul replied very, not provocatively, but he replied, "I will happily share how we're doing things. We've created 60 working leads in the last 8 weeks and 213 follow-ups." Come on, Paul.
Thanks for that, Robert. Good intro. I think it was quite easy for us. I'm an avid reader, and I think that the kind of books that I've been reading have played a part into why I chose to make the decision that I did. And when COVID kind of was announced and lockdown went down, I just said, quite honestly, to hell with marketing. Like no one really is going to need more marketing, because my assumption was that everyone was going to go onto LinkedIn. They were going to flood LinkedIn with as much content as possible. But, you know, I think for me, I've always kind of looked at digital marketing as a bridge or something that you use when people just aren't ready to buy. And I know that's like standard and it makes sense, but a lot of agencies, you know, they get behind their own digital strategies, which often means that they're getting in their own way. And then what they do is they rely on their digital, and then you get back to these same stories. Oh, you know, I haven't got the right business dev, or, you know, we haven't got the right time to do what we're doing. And actually it just comes down to a lack of structure, because there are opportunities to digitalize your outreach. And that means that, you know, I've heard the horror stories. I've got friends that own agencies, quite large agencies, where they said, you know, they've taken someone on, they're giving them the right decent basic, 6 months in, they're like, what's this guy done or this lady done? And, you know, then they have to sack them again. And quite honestly, I think that sales has to have its own funnel. And I know there's this thing about inbound doing the whole crossover between sales and marketing, but quite honestly, I think that any kind of process should look like you make the assumption the customer's on your website because, or the prospect, should I say, is on your website because they're looking for something like what you do. Otherwise, they don't wander onto an agency website looking for shopping, you know. So make that assumption, and then you have to be able to say, are you ready to buy now, or do I need to nurture you? Whereas the approach for the last 4 or 5 years has been, let me nurture you down my funnel, and when you've done 15 or 16 things, I'm going to get my business dev person to reach out to you. And I fundamentally don't agree with it. I kind of think you should ask the question first, are you here to buy? And then if not, great, let me send you to some of our great content, and that will help nurture you down the line, right? So based on that, and the fact that most successful business owners you hear just went against the grain when, you know, a market was going to pieces, or there was a you know, a global recession, where they just say, I'm not going to carry on doing what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go quite aggressive and start prospecting for business. So coming back to what I was saying earlier, my assumption was that everyone was going to use LinkedIn, and therefore it was going to become inundated with probably what isn't a lot of good content, and I've probably seen lots of it. And therefore, you're just in amongst it all. So why don't you just start asking people outright, what is your problem? And that's literally what we did. So we systemized our outreach. So we put it actually into a workflow as much as you would, you know, like an automation process, I suppose. And then we decided that we were just going to be straightforward. So none of this, oh, I see we've got some great connections, let's be friends on LinkedIn, because to be honest, there's not one person probably that thinks that's a really good connection. And don't get me wrong, we do use an automation platform to do that. And I'm sure some of you might have already received examples where people have reached out to you. Now I got one, I've had 1 or 2 where people have said, Paul, I'm looking to speak to an accountant. Can we make an appointment to have a chat? And I'm like, my profile definitely says agency owner, and I'm definitely not an accountant. So we know that, like anyone, if people are going to do it badly, they're going to do it badly. But we literally, the Saturday before lockdown was announced, we all left the office and decided to work from home. So we'd gone in and kind of aligned all our systems and whatnot, came home, and then I was like, right, I'm just going to put this on automatic. We don't have a business dev person. Like, I literally do most of the sales prospecting for the business. So effectively I do that and a bit of strategy, well, and most of the strategy, but that's just not sustainable. But neither is potentially hiring the wrong person. And I think that when you're a business and you're trying to take measured steps to grow the business, whilst there is a default position that some man or woman can do this better if this is their sole job, there are a lot of bad salespeople out there, and there's a lot of bad practice. And I think that two things that we need to consider is, whilst there are bad salespeople, not everyone's a bad salesperson. So there is a level of how good is the business sales structure set up, and is that systemized? And if it's not, and it's all kind of bit gung-ho, there is no way to measure your success. You're just looking for, you know, a sale, I suppose, to guide how well you're doing, when that doesn't give you an opportunity to learn where you're falling over, or, you know, the conversations are going. So I think taking that into consideration, taking the fact that, you know, we don't have, like most agencies, the budget to just take someone on and take that risk. It has to be measured. We decided we'll do it with tech first and see where we went. And right now I really can't keep up. So that's kind of a really good place to be. So when the comment was put into the group and I saw it, I was just like, well, look, to be fair, you can go and work out how to do this yourself. So the fact that nobody's doing it just means no one's looking at doing it this way. So therefore, the secret sauce is basically within all of us. It's not, there's nothing that I can't do that everyone else can't do. So why can't I share? Because, you know, I'm well down the line with it. But effectively, we organised a strategy, which then looked like an outreach program. I was straight up front. I was like, look, I'm Paul. We're from Bias. We specialise in inbound marketing and sales support for financial services business. That's kind of fintech and finance is where we sit. And I'd love to connect with you because we're working with lots of companies that might be facing challenges like you. And don't get me wrong, I think that for me was about as straightforward. That might not be word for word, but that's the general gist of the first outreach. And that just opened a lot of doors. People are quite open to connecting with people that they feel were genuine. That doesn't mean that everyone wanted to chat to me, but I certainly felt that.
Right,
you know,
so what you're doing all the time is you're challenging people to go left or right. So if you go all the way back to the website says, do you want to buy now or later? That's kind of like a standard hardball sale pitch, and they do that loads in the States, which is, yep. Would you like to buy from us? If you do, that's fantastic. The opening gambit is $35,000, yep. Where 5 of our team will be with you for 3 days.
Yep.
Scares off 90% of the people, but that's fine because they're never going to buy from you in the first place.
Exactly, and this is why I did it. You don't look. If you're bothered about numbers, like I know I've got a couple of agency owner friends, and they love the fact they've got 10, 11,000 people in their CRM. And I'm like, but you've got like 20 customers. So what's the point of having 10,000 people and you've got 20 customers? It's like, don't get caught up in having large numbers of people. However, that like coming back to what you said, I've been straight up and told them what my conversation's going to be around. But then most certainly the second follow-up goes out and it says something like, look, I'm glad we connected a few days back. I did mention that we're looking to talk to people that have identified challenges within sales and marketing, and we've got a few case studies, and if you've recognized this, then we want to talk to you. We're quite clear, look, we're not really looking for someone who doesn't know if they've got a problem. We want to talk to you if you know you've got a problem. Maybe you're not talking to someone like me. That is, or maybe they're talking to other people like me, but maybe you're just open to having the third perspective, whatever that may look like. And then I think in about a week after that, we kind of spell it out. Look, I don't want to keep being too busy while I've left it for a little while, but these are the challenges in marketing we solve, and these are the challenges in sales we solve. Do you recognize that? And if not, just let me know, and then I'll just stop dropping into your inbox. And at which point, most people have come back and said, you know, either no, Paul, I'm not interested, or which was obviously the main. So let's not lie, you get a lot of no's, but it's not personal. You know, people just want to do what they do. But we had 60, I think we've got something like 64 now, 65, straight into, Paul, let's have a chat. What do we do? What is it you do? Let's look. Which meant that we had to change what we were doing. I've never had a company deck, for example. I had to get one created because all of a sudden people saying, send me your deck. And it's like most of my business had come off of referrals and other clients and, you know, people within the industry that I might have worked with 10 years ago. And that's great, but it's not business building, right? It isn't. And those referrals.
So let me just interrupt you. So how many, to get your 60
yeah, let me just have the
leads,
numbers. Yeah.
How many of those initial contact, how many, hi, I'd like to talk to you, were at the
Cool.
top, and then how many people reply? Let's just go through what the numbers were.
Okay, let me say right now, we sent out 1,771 invites as of right now, this moment. 724 of those people accepted my connection request.
1,700 invites, did you say? So I didn't count.
Yeah, 1771. So I sent out 1771 invites.
Yeah.
I had 724 people accept my connection request. And then if you just bear with me. So I've got 97. So in our system, I've got 97 unassigned replies at the moment, which basically means that I need to associate them to either not interested, interested, or follow up. Yeah. So that now looks like out of 700 and whatever that was, we had 681 conversations. 310 people at the moment have said, no, sorry, I'm not interested. We've got 213 qualified, Paul, end of the month, mid-June, blah, 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 whatever it is, to follow up with. And we've got 63 interested conversations. Now, those numbers might not add up. As I say, I've got quite a number of emails to tag into those sections. But look, that I'm looking at my dashboard, that's where we are. So in 6 weeks, I've probably generated as much pipeline as I've probably did in the last 2 years in terms of that number of conversations and number of people in the pipeline.
So what's really interesting is you've gone just beneath the obnoxious, if that makes sense. You know this thing where someone says, I'd like to connect, we share the network, and you get, yeah, and then 32 seconds later you get, I sell PPC, and you buy from me, and me and my friends in India are very, very good.
Yeah.
And you've just wasted a minute of my life. Why did I do it? Yeah. So you're not doing that, but you're being straightforward, you're being honest.
Exactly.
And if people aren't interested, they just bat you away. So this is actually a real marketing piece about getting the voice just accessible and individual, personal enough that it's not this pure. I mean, I did this LinkedIn article, 30,000 reads in about 2 hours because I'd said that businesses in difficulty will be revealed by the recession.
Yeah.
And the whole world kicked off about how do I sleep well at night, and don't I know that people are dying. It's like all that stuff. So it's just about finding the level so that people go, oh, I like the cut of these people's jib, even though it's a 5-liner on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
What have I got to lose? Oh, actually, I quite like them. And presumably, they're then doing their due diligence, somewhere in between that. They're going back to your LinkedIn profile and then back to your website and going, okay.
So there's some good numbers that you mentioned there.
Yeah.
My website, let me just quickly log in. I swear, yesterday when I looked, I'd had 5,500 page views, basically, to tie in at the same time as we started doing what we've done. So the bounce rate's down. So my bounce rate is down to 1.27% on the website. Yeah. And that's simply because I'm just working off my personas, right? I'm not random and sporadic with what I'm doing. We have a certain industry and where there's 3 people we talk to: head of sales, head of marketing, head of business development. Yeah. Maybe on the odd occasion a CEO. But I know who I talk to and I know what messaging works for whom.
And are you using Sales Navigator? Or
I have to use Sales Navigator. Yeah, we do that. So we've definitely got that account. And do you know what's really interesting? I got help from my prospects. So as these messages are going out, I got complimented on how good it was, but also I had people come back to me and say, Paul, do you know what, I wouldn't use this language, I would use this sort of language. So people are obviously recognizing that the workflow that we put together is pretty good, right? I mean, look, the numbers are speaking for themselves anyway, so it's got to be pretty decent. The rest of it's down to me. So yeah.
How many people write that one that I write back, which is, this is spam?
Yeah, so I must admit, out of that number, I've probably had 30 or 40 people say, Paul, can you stop spamming me? And that's fine, because it's people's objection to being interrupted, and that's kind of the whole thing about inbound, right? It was like, you just educate me and pull me in, whereas when you're doing this, you have to admit to yourself, some people are going to get upset, some people will be okay, and some people are just going to just be nice and connect with you and never ever communicate with you because they don't want to. People are just generally nice. And also some people are a bit like how early Facebook was. They just wanted to show that they had all these big numbers of friends in their network.
Yeah, because I mean, my thing is about often you can you be asked, but basically often someone writes you something and you go, mate, I don't like to be rude, but this is just coming across as spam, and they go, oh, I don't think it is. You go, well, actually it's the way you say what you do in the third word is the clue, and you haven't asked me about what I do. And if you'd actually bothered to look at my LinkedIn profile, you'd have noticed that no, I'm not a dentist, and blah 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 blah. So and there are several guys I know in America who now have a link set up that they just send people to a link about why you're wasting my time and why I hate people like you because it's spam. Which is cool, which is fine, because we all get it, but we kind of know, when someone says, I think I can help your business, and you see that they've got, I hate to say it, but it's just the truth, an Indian name, and their business is in Bangalore, or it says PVT. 99% certainty that within 3 minutes you're going to be hit with, we do very good websites, we can get cheap this for that for you.
And do you know what, on that note, I think that one of the things that I started saying to people was like, well, what's in it for me? And they would say, what do you mean what's in it for you? You're going to save money. I said, no, but I want a relationship where if I use you, you use me. So you're going to refer me lots of marketing leads, and I can then work with you to build websites when I need them. Silence. Because that's what we're looking for, right? But do you know what, there's another thing that you said there about the spam thing, and I think that what we stay true to, and I really want to be able to find my so while I'm talking, I'm going to find the workflow, and I'm going to share it with you, Robert, so that you can see it. But we were constantly asking them about them, like, even if you haven't got a problem now, even if you've got a problem that you're not addressing now, and it's on the line for later in 2020, we'd still be like to talk to you and share a little bit of information, maybe to give you some help up front. And I think that's where we were like, really absolute. This can't come across as like the crap that I get. And again, it's exactly what you said. Here we go.
Because I mean, part of the problem is, and the whole industry suffers from it, is nearly everyone is a hammer. Hi, I do SEO. Oh, hello, Mrs. Customer, you need SEO. It's like there's no like actually your website needs sorting out first, or your product's crap, or anything like that. It's just, I do SEO, you need SEO. So for there to actually be an honest broker who says, thanks a lot for reaching out to us. I totally get that you like to invest in SEO. However, until you actually, look at your website and your offer and your pitch and how you're pitching and who you're pitching to, the SEO money is going to be a waste of time. So can I recommend you go and talk to blah, 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 who's a marketing specialist who will sort out your proposition and then come back to us. Now, the interesting thing about that approach is you end up being one of the good guys. Mm-hmm. And they do come back to you. Actually, they then come back to you and say, thank you very much. By the way, before we do the essay, we also need, do you know a graphics artist while you're at it? And you go, yeah, we do. And then you start sharing stuff around. Mm-hmm. And I told the story the other day. I went to see this teacher who lived literally next door, a friend of mine in London in the days when you could do that, because she was really upset. She'd set up a business it's about to launch. Fantastic, great. So bang on the door, go and have a cup of coffee. So tell me what's going on. Just like, it's not a paid thing or anything. And she said, well, we launched our website yesterday. I said, fantastic, great. How much have you spent so far? £100,000. £100,000. Okay, so what were you doing before? We were both retired teachers. That's good. Yeah, cool, cool, cool. So you spent your redundancy money. Yeah, we spent our redundancy. So what have you spent it on? Well, the web design was 20,000. Yeah, the graphics artist was 5,000. Yeah, the marketing consultant was 15,000. The content copywriter was 15,000. And they kind of went on, blah 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 blah. Everyone took their money. No one at any point asked whether the proposition, which was a shit proposition, which was never going to work, was going to be okay. So she's in front of me in floods of tears saying, I spent £100,000, and I look at my website and I've only got 5 people visit it, and they're all my family. It's like, well,
this is a thing, isn't it? Right?
Evil. I mean, it's disgraceful that the industry does that. It's disgraceful. It's, you know, I know it's like picking candy from a baby and so on and so forth, but it's absolutely disgraceful that none of those people or said, actually, let's just look at this as to whether this is worth investing in, because you don't need to be spending 100,000 quid, and secondly, there are quick ways you could test this before you actually earn the money off. Anyhow, look. So you want to share a screen?
Yeah, so do you want me to share the screen?
Yeah, can you share the screen, or do I need to do some button pressing?
I can share the screen here. So here we go. So we can see this, right?
All right.
Yeah, so this literally is our sequence. So you're prepared to steal it if you need to, but yeah, quite happy for anyone to look at it. And look, so I'll say true. So we use tokenization to personalize it, which is quite obvious. And it's, look, we specialize in inbound marketing, sales and lead generation for your industry. I saw that you're the title that we obviously want to speak to. It'll be good to connect, to share how we're helping solve challenges for companies like yours, basically. And if they connect, all's well and good. And then it's, you know, thanks for accepting my request. This is what we do again. Many companies, same as yours. I thought it'd be good to connect, because I feel you may be facing similar challenges. So I'm talking about them all the time. I'm not even talking about us in terms of, but I've let you know what I've done or what we do. You know, would you be interested in discussing this further as that is? And then, as I said, I know you must be busy, so I'll get to the point. I know in my last message, I mentioned that we had helped to solve problems in marketing and sales and businesses like yours. And these are the problems that we're helping solve, right? So again, this is where it makes it really easy for people to either say yay or nay. And this is typically in this workflow where we get the engagement. It's usually like, usually the no's happen a little bit further forward. So I've had people actually connect and then say, no, we're not interested. So, you know, you'll get that, but no's are good as well. And here is where the conversation starts getting into, let's book an appointment. Can't make a decision now because of COVID, which was the bigger part of those 200 and odd follow-ups. Or, yeah, we've definitely got a problem. Can you send us some stuff about your company and your pricing? And I always defer from talking about the pricing straight up. I say, yeah, here's our company deck. So all of our sales enablement processes are, we've got all our PDFs on the desktop, and it's, you know, look, we can just attach that to the LinkedIn chat. So we're still not even trying at this point to say, give me your company email so I can email you, because you can turn people away. You can quite easily attach a PDF to the LinkedIn chat, and therefore you still leave those people feeling comfortable, but also from your deck, they're probably going to gauge whether you're for them or not. And again, I don't think I mind people dropping away from you at this point, because what I'm looking for really in the short term is just the people that are going to be easier to work. They're going to say, yeah, we recognize that. We like the way your deck looks because it spells out exactly what the process would be. And let's take this further. And that's where we are. And down here is where I said, you know, I'd be really keen to book some time with you to learn about your current challenges or future objectives for 2020. So I left the door open for the length of the year anyway, because that's me hedging my bets. 7 days later, one final time, I just wanted to find out if any of my communications resonated. Please let me know if you want to be discussing. And I've had people still not come back here. So what we did is we put a 30-day follow-up on. And this has, again, borne some fruit. And this, again, has got some absolute no's. So it's not designed to be overly intrusive. I think the whole process goes across probably two working weeks before, well, actually, it's just over 2 working weeks. And then 30 days later, I've got a follow-up. It's not overly intrusive. And also, not at one point have I said that I've definitely got the solution for you. I've always put it on them. And I think that's where we've kind of got this. But I've shared this with you, Robert, anyway. So you've got the link to that.
So just a couple of things. Of the 63 interested, how many do you think you'll convert?
I'm probably into.
Can you turn off the screen share?
Yeah, share, no problem. Right. So at the moment, I'm into 5 strategy presentations. Yeah. So it's 5 and is that 5 into 6 is. I think probably 2 of those will go over of the 5. One of them mostly assured of, and the other one gave me a date. So even though we're doing a presentation now, they've said, look, they can't sign it off till September. But what came out of the whole process was that when we were sharing things like personas and all of that stuff, they went away and did their homework. So when they came back for the presentation call, they were like, look, we know we need to do our personas. We need to work out what that looks like, which partner then needs to be looking after which industry, and so on and so forth. So it's already started to get them thinking, and they were like, look, we want to do this piece of work over the next 3 months because we're remote from each other. And then in September, we can kick off. So it's always a numbers game. The numbers of attrition are what most agencies don't know. I mean, I probably still don't know my numbers of attrition before, number of contacts, calls, presentations, sales, right? But I've also now got to go back through this 213 people and start working out like what is going to happen. Most of them said come back end of May, June. And so therefore it's going to be the time. But again, I can automate that and actually just draw the list out and just work out a new process.
And how much, and the other question, so you haven't quite answered that question actually. So
Go on then.
You've got 63 people who are interested.
Yeah.
How much work do you think you get out of those 63?
I probably would expect to get 3 to 4.
At what kind of value?
Our average retainer is 3 to 4 grand a month. So
and they stay with you for how long? What's the average lifetime?
So average is probably a year.
Okay, so each one's worth 36,000 quid. So you reckon you've got 100,000 quid's worth of business out of this?
Potentially, yeah. There's still conversations to go on. But
and that's 6 or 8 weeks of marketing. So
yeah.
So multiply that by 8, and that's a £1 million turnover.
Well, this is where I'm trying to get to. For me, what I'm trying to do is work out what works. So also, if we do, as we start to grow, when we take on more business, we definitely want a sales process which will be based on this. And if we humanize it or not, or if we just stay with this and we just continue to change. I didn't go in with the whole COVID-19 messaging. I decided to stay away from that. I thought the fear mongering was being perpetuated enough.
How are you in these difficult times? Delete.
Everyone's doing it, right? And also there is the rise of the LinkedIn marketer, right? There's these guys that are just doing all of the top of funnel stuff, selling it at pretty much what some of our agencies are doing a lot more work for, and they're getting places because people have got this lack of interest and lack of know-how around LinkedIn, which beguiles me because it's a social business platform. The reason that I've gone with the messaging the way I went is because no one wants to be my friend. They if they're interested in what I've got to say, they want you to make it clear that this is what we want to talk to you about. And then I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to share my connections because we've got a couple in common. All of those rubbish outreaches just annoy people and put me on the back foot because I'm waiting for you to now pitch me.
So marketing 101, marketing 101 is written on my wall in front of me there because somehow I forgot, content that makes my life faster, more efficient, cheaper, more profitable, or better.
Yeah.
Please.
Listen, it's an interesting time, but I think what I was talking to my partner. So my girlfriend's the head of content for Money 2020, which is a decent event, and quite lucky for me that we're both tied in that fintech space. But there you go. But what's really interesting is what they class as good content and what a lot of agencies class as good content, and a content person that is looking for speakers is often far more critical of the content that the speaker can talk about when they really care about their brand. And this is where it got really interesting because I brought her in to talk to a couple of the guys who were producing content, but it wasn't wasn't there, and no matter what kind of training or direction or tips I gave them, and I brought her in because she basically works with like CEOs of top brands, and before that she was at the World Retail Congress, so you know, Alibaba and all those kind of high level CEOs.
Yeah.
She's telling them what she feels is good quality content, based on what they're about to say on the stage, and there is a great overlap between what goes on stage and what should go out on the net. And I think,
God, yeah, it's like one of the things which always beguiles me. So I have a persona that I go after, and I recognize him from about 150 yards down to a Volvo 4x4 and a BMW estate.
okay,
wife's the FD, and they have 29 staff, and he's bright as a button, and he doesn't suffer fools gladly, and blah, 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 blah. If I write my emails to Joe, Joe, literally just take out the word Joe at the top.
Yeah.
What's Joe worrying about now? You know, you've got problems knowing whether you're going to get back to your ski chalet or not, and you wonder whether you could run your agency from your ski. If I write that not only is the click-through rate much higher, but you get the engagement of, oh my God, it's like you were talking to me. So it absolutely works for Joe,
yeah,
and people who look like Joe.
Yeah.
What I can't stand, I don't know why agencies do it, is, we work with SMEs and public corporations and charities and startups and not-for-profit and voluntary organisations. Every time you do that beigeness, all your messaging on your website and so on and so forth is bound to be bland, and it's bound not to hit anyone. And my point about your partner's conversation is, you recognize content, be it on stage, which is my thing, or be it written.
Yep.
When someone's talking in those bland generalizations, which are it's tough, but you need to work harder, versus someone who actually knows their chops.
Yep.
And the great benefit of niching is that you understand the market, you understand the industry. So I like the fact that you're in fintech, you understand what buttons to press, and in fact you know about your clients' problems better than they do because you've been around the block. I've got two friends who are coaches. One is a coach for anyone, and they're brilliant because one day they're in front of a management consultant, the next day they're in front of a sports shop, the next day they're in front of a fitness coach, and they're able to. Another one who does nothing but dentists. The guy who does dentists knows more about running a dental practice than a dentist does.
Yeah.
He spends every day of his life in dental practices, seeing all the stuff going on, and what the problems are, and what the issues are, and what key legislation is, and how they're impacted by COVID and NHS and blah, blah, blah. So the dentists are willing to pay 4 or 5 times more to work with the niche specialist who knows more about the industry than the generalist who actually might be a much brighter bunny because they're able to access stuff. But when they sit in front of a dentist, they don't know about the NHS white paper coming out in 2002, and they don't understand the cost of Adaptic and the difficulty of security and hepatitis B or whatever that dentists are worried about. And and then there is a contra to that, which is the agencies which have done really well in these times are the ones that have had a really wide, broad portfolio of clients. So they've not had just hotels, restaurants, and catering.
Yeah. Of course, you'd definitely be suffering, right?
Boom. But they've had a wider portfolio. So that's really interesting. I'm doing a lot of work with one particular agency that specialises there. They have 2 opportunities. They can say we could take all that knowledge and skill that we have that we should have applied to a dead industry, and we're going to actually lift it up, and we're going to do that somewhere else. So we're going to do it for lawyers or accountants.
Yeah, easily done.
Whatever it is. Or we're going to go even deeper into our industry, which is in the doldrums right now, but in 2 years' time, those hotel rooms will be full again.
Yeah.
So we can go on that journey, and we can be the good guy. So there are options. Anyhow, we're going off.
Well, sorry, just to back that up. I mean, you know, I come from a financial services background, so I didn't start off in marketing and choose finance as an area. I literally worked for JP Morgan, and I was more of change the bank person. So, you know, I've run trading floors and all sorts. But what was really interesting is when you double down, we beat EY and KPMG to a contract last year, just before Christmas, and we're actually helping build a new challenger bank. So taking all of that industry experience that we've had, and the knowledge and the running big projects, and then, you know, we were in front of this client, and we told them to go and speak to those guys. I said, look, that's probably a little bit out of our sort of remit, but they actually came back, asked us to pitch them, and, you know, through our network and for a lot of time, we've worked with a company externally that are developers, and like they're working with people like Apple, and they're doing all this big fintech development. And so we advise them on what this bank should actually look like. It's a business-to-business bank. It's not a high street bank at all. But these guys are really ready to try and shake up banking, and that's really interesting for me, because quite a lot of the time, as you say, when you look at an industry for so long, you're like, why isn't someone doing that? And why isn't someone doing that? And you know, it's good because those agency owners that still feel entrepreneurial in their mindset when they're working with people probably give their clients far more benefit, because it excites you. And I think that it should excite you what you're doing and the people you're working with.
And that might be why the entrepreneur is better at doing the biz dev than a development person. Who has never got their what's it's on the line, because actually the reality of a lot of the biz dev stuff is, you know, can I look at you the whites of your eyes, and do I believe that you'll really go the extra mile for me? You know, and the standard salesy biz dev guy who's going may not be actually prepared to push the buttons and challenge, because they're more interested in the sale than they are in the longevity of the relationship.
Exactly.
Listen, Paul,
thank you.
Use up more than enough of your time. That's absolutely awesome. We'll share this and get this out.
Brilliant.
What are your, just to wrap up, what are your, I don't know, what are your top tips? What is your gut feel if you took another agency owner out for a drink, and you'd had a couple of bottles of wine and a good meal together, you're coming out of the bar, you're best friends for life, you put your arm around him or her, say, there's a few things I'd like to tell you about running an agency. What's the kind of the secret sauce? What's the juice?
What would I tell them? I think it's a personal thing. So I like to class myself as a lifelong learner. I'm just doing that whole EOS thing at the moment, which is kind of starting to make a lot of sense. And I just feel that if at any point in the business you feel like you're on top of it, I think you're kidding yourself. I think that is the real golden egg. If at any time you might have a nice purple patch and it's plateauing great, but there is always something that you can do, right? So I think that would be my one tip, is always think like one step ahead. You know, as I said, the reason that we went quite aggressive with what we did was because you read too many of these books with the one person that did that when everyone else started shriveling up and dying because they thought that, you know, that's probably not a really good term to use considering, but, you know, everyone kind of got a little bit hesitant and I'm not spending any money and I don't know what's going on. Well, the economy still needs to turn. Agencies can always deliver digitally. And in fact, what came out of that is we're doing quite a lot in America now. So, you know, it is about making the right decisions. It is about making measured decisions, but also always try and surround yourself with people that know more than you do. Yeah. All right.
Absolutely great, Paul. You have an absolutely awesome day.
Thanks, Robert. Cheers, you too.
You look after yourself.
You too. Take care. Okay. Bye-bye.